We have a major Toronto Blue Jays Vladimir Guerrero Jr. update as we are now just hours away from the deadline that will decide his fate in Toronto for the foreseeable future. We're going to break down that update and discuss what it means going forward, as well as discuss the Jays making an interesting signing. It is not the signing we all expected, but they made another move to help add some depth to their pitching staff. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. We're going to keep you up to date all season long. And of course, all of today, as today's the day Vladdy decides if he's going to join the Blue Jays for, next year and beyond. It's a crazy day. Everybody's anxiously waiting. We have some comments as well from Bowden and Francis surrounding Vladdy, and it is the calm before the storm now, because if the Jays are not able to secure Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to a long-term deal, then the whole vibe, the whole structure of this team is going to be thrown for a loop, as we are now a month and a bit away from opening day. So there's a lot to go over, but ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into it. It's a scary day, but I want to start with the signing. So this just dropped minutes ago, and it's not the signing we thought about. I'm sure a lot of your guys' hearts dropped because it is, of course, a signing, but it is non-Vladdy news. The Blue Jays have signed right-handed pitcher Jacob Barnes to a minor league deal. Barnes, a 9-year MLB veteran who put up a 4.36 ERA last season with the Nationals, will be in MLB camp. He had a brief stint with Toronto in 2021. Now, I remember him in 2021. He had a very brief stint. Obviously, 2021 was the illustrious year where the Jays missed the playoffs by one game. And, of course, the year Marcus Semien, threw away that ball against the Tigers that ultimately was part of the reason that, they didn't make the playoffs. Of course, Semien was fantastic. But they got Jacob Barnes. And this is actually interesting because he will be in the MLB camp. And there's actually a world where he definitely plays a pretty big role in the bullpen. And you can look at his stats here. So last season with Washington, he went 8-3 with a 4.36 ERA in 63 games. Now, he has not been good throughout the entirety of his career, and he is 34 years old. But if you're talking about a guy who's coming off of the best season by far of his career, putting up, aside from his rookie year, but putting up a, 8.3 or 8 wins, 3 losses, but a .1 WAR in a 4.36 ERA, it's actually not bad at all. The Washington Nationals team, it's actually quite bad. So when you look at the Jays bullpen right now, they have, several righties and they have a couple lefties now, especially with the competition with Lovelady. You now have, of course, Amir Garrett, all these different guys. But you start to look at just the depth in the bullpen, it is tenfold better than last season. Obviously, the Jays were the worst bullpen in baseball last year, and now they've really turned it around. We've seen Pete Walker come out and really start to praise the bullpen, saying, hey, they are really going to be good. This is going to be the year where they actually, put it all together. And it's an interesting signing. He played 63 games last season. Is he going to make a huge impact in the team? It depends how he does in spring training. This is a full-on tryout for Jacob Barnes here, and I'm going to cover any player that they sign that actually has a chance of breaking camp. I would assume Amir Garrett's going to break camp. It was released that, of course, Ben Smith came out after my video, and it was a minor league deal. So it's not a major league deal. It's a minor league deal. However, I do believe that given the competition that the Jays have at the in the bullpen spots surrounding their left-handed pitchers, I think Amir Garrett's probably going to make it. Of course, there's Brendan Little there, and there's a couple of other guys as well. But ultimately, they got Jacob Barnes coming off of a very good year, and hopefully he can put it all together this year and really put together a solid year, break the team out of spring training, and make some competition for guys like Ryan Burr and some of the other guys who were on the team last year, who now, he would be kind of a fifth inning guy, fourth inning guy if the starter gets pulled early. They have most of their bullpen locked in, whether that's Jimmy Garcia, Eric Swanson, Chad Green, Jeff Hoffman, Nick Sandlin. They have 5 guys that can pitch every single day. You have your lefty, whether it be Amir Garrett, Brendan Little. There's Ariel Rodriguez getting pushed to the bullpen. It's strictly a depth move. Their bullpen is absolutely fantastic. And, well, on paper it is. Let's, relax a little bit because they were worse in baseball last year. But it's an interesting signing nonetheless. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time to shift now. We are hours away from the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. decision. It's the final countdown on extension talks for the Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now, this is obviously discussing. Today is the day. So I discussed in yesterday's video how it was either going to be today or tomorrow. I believe 11:59. Most people are saying that, the actual deadline is going to be when he walks into camp. So I'd assume tomorrow when he's required to walk into camp and we see him with his backpack tomorrow, and if he's not extended, that means that they weren't able to come to an agreement. It could happen tonight. It could happen throughout the night. We're going to keep you up to date regardless. But Bichette shed some interesting light. He said, similarly, high stakes exist for the Guerrero, who's absent of an agreement, will head into 2025 needing to build on the 5.5 F4 campaign he delivered last summer. And of course, he's saying this is if he doesn't extend, obviously, who is in the absence of a couple down months or an injury could easily derail a chance to talk with all 30 teams. That's a big thing we have to keep in mind here. Obviously, the Jays need to offer him a ton of money, but there is some upside for Vladdy as well by not testing free agency. I see a lot of fans of other teams saying, why would he not test free agency to get the maximum amount of money? one injury, one down season. He's coming off of the second best season of his career. And if he has a down year or he gets injured or anything like that happens, instantly the market is cut in half. He won't be able to get nearly the amount of money that he's even probably trying to get now. You see here that the talks are going down to the wire isn't surprising, as the baseball industry is largely deadline driven, with executives and agents alike tending to believe that only when a cutoff is imminent do the best offers hit the table. The primary gap between the camps, as it has been since they first discussed a long-term deal after Guerrero's MVP runner-up campaign in 21, is how to value the 26-year-old. Back then, 14-year extension that obviously Tatis signed with the Padres shifted the market, and now obviously the Soto signing of $765 million shifted the market even more. And you're at a point now where the Jays are in a very interesting spot, and that, according to Schneider, is the reason they haven't signed him, and that's why the sides haven't come to agreement, is because there's a discrepancy in the value between what the front office sees and what he sees, because it is a difficult player to evaluate. You have no defensive positive value there. He's a first baseman. He is a fantastic hitter, no doubt about that. And we can think back to the Aaron Judge a little bit when in 2022, he turned down a $213 million deal from the Yankees, put up monster numbers. We remember John Heyman said Arson Judge headed to the Giants. Ultimately, he decided to go back to the Yankees. Layer atop of that, and particularly pertinent to the Blue Jays and Guerrero, is how clubs have behaved when elite young talent has become available in free agency. Other teams are going to be willing to give him as much money, write a blank check, whether that be the Padres, whether that be Steve Cohen and the New York Mets. And if you're the Jays, you don't really have a choice here, right? Like, if you don't get Vladimir Guerrero Jr., sure, you can say that the money you save from letting Bo and Vladdy walk, you can try to find other free agents. Like I mentioned in yesterday's video, and like Jamie Campbell mentioned, it is difficult to get players. It's more difficult to get players in Toronto than actually keeping them, because once you obviously arrive in the state-of-the-art facilities, they have the best, development training facility, the best camp there is. Everybody says that. It's one of the reasons Shohei Ohtani almost came to Toronto. All these different things. Roki Sasaki seriously considered Toronto. But getting them in is difficult. It's a different country. It's unfamiliar. You can see Bowden Francis here. We just want him to play and have fun. We want him to be happy. At the end of the day, he's going to play his best when he's happy. So we just hope it gets done. Either way, we know he's going to be smiling when he walks in. They need to get him done. The players are saying this. José Berríos is saying this. Obviously, Chris Bassett, Kevin Gausman. Everybody wants Vladdy to be a Blue Jay. And if he doesn't, it is going to spell disaster for this team, because if he tests free agency, I do not want to go through another offseason of free agency frenzy, except this time it's for a player that was in Toronto already rather than one that's trying to come to Toronto, like we've seen and gotten our hearts broken a million times over the past few years. So it's interesting. I'm eagerly waiting, being optimistic. We are hours away now, and we're going to keep you guys up to date with all the latest news surrounding it, because things are going to continue to pick up as the hours tick by, and it's the day. Hopefully, we'll see Toronto Blue Jays star Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in a Jays uniform for life. And Ross, hopefully you can sign him to a 12, 13, whatever it ends up being, year deal at a ton of millions of dollars. Regardless, we'll keep you guys up to date with all the latest news. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.